to now number 12. Now number 12 was a mutant that was introduced to me through the animated show, and I liked her there. I started liking her there, and I started liking her in the comics as well. And you guys probably know which mutant I'm probably talking about, and that's Jubilation Lee, none other than Jubilee. Now Jubilee's gone through a lot of changes throughout the years. She's gone from mutant to human, from losing her powers to a superhuman identity called Wundra and the New Warriors, and now currently she's a vampire. As I've actually, when I did the X-Men Regenesis thing, I've recently looked back and yeah, she's still a vampire for this whole X-Men Regenesis event. Which is good, because when she was human, she was just kind of useless in my opinion, so at least they're doing something. I don't really agree with the whole vampire thing, but at least she's doing something, is all I can say. But, you know, I've always liked Jubilee, especially in the 90s. Like I said, I was introduced to this character through the X-Men, the 90s animated show. And, you know, Jubilee's such a great character. She was this spunky new kid, and actually one of the closest people to Wolverine. You know, I've always liked the father-daughter relationship she and Logan have had over the years. She's looked at Logan like the closest thing she's ever had to a father. So I've always dug the father-daughter relationship between those two, and you know, she's a great character on her own. She's now kind of like got this grim attitude to her, and she's trying to keep her vampire instincts in check. So, yeah. But, you know, all in all, she's a great character all around. I wish she had her mutant powers back. You know, her firework powers. I know that's not the right word, but basically they were like, it was basically she could shoot fireworks out of her hands in some ways. You know, she's evolved like a lot of the other characters. She's become a very fluid character, and I'm glad she's back with the X-Men. After, you know, curse the mutants motif. But yeah, I bet a lot of you people were expecting someone higher on the list. But yeah, number 12, it's Jubilee. Number 11. Now, number 11 is another female character that, you know, this is someone you don't want to cross on a bad day. And she's been dead probably more than anyone else in the Marvel Universe. And without further ado, that woman is none other than Jean Grey. Now, Jean Grey, another very evolved character. She's probably one of the most powerful beings in the Marvel. I tongue-tied. Should say was, because she's currently dead, but she's died so many times in the Marvel Universe. She's probably died so many times. She's probably died more than any other Marvel character, and been brought back in so many weird ways. If you could ever think of like some way a character can die and brought back, that's probably happened to her. But you know, Jean is a very cool character. She can go from being this fierce, raging, godlike being to a sweet motherly character to the younger mutants. And, you know, myself and a lot of other people who are fans of Jean Grey just can't wait for the day she finally comes back and slaps the shit out of Scott and beats Emma into the ground. Man, I can't wait for that to happen. I actually I've always liked her as a character, and again, she's, like I said about Jubilee, she's a very evolved character. I mean, she's gone from superhero to supervillain to you know, almost godlike being as the Phoenix. She's all around just awesome. I mean, there was one comic I remember where she, as Phoenix, challenged Galactus and nearly beat him. So yeah, and let's not forget she was the main villain in one of the most memorable X-Men stories, the Dark Phoenix Saga, probably one of the most hailed X-Men stories of all time. So yeah, now, like I said, she's died so many times. It's, you know, it's not even funny at this point, but you know, I guess that's like a recurring gag for Jean, but she'll be back, no doubt. There's no doubt in my mind that one day Jean is gonna come back, and you know, then the shit's really gonna hit the fan for Cyclops. And trust me, I can't wait for that day to happen when Jean comes back and just smacks him around for what he did. But anyway, moving on to number 10. Now, number 10 is, like Jean, one of the original 5 X-Men. You know, he's also one of my favorite X-Men as well. I've enjoyed him. I've enjoyed this character, you know, since I first read about him, and I've always thought he was cool. And he's one of the original 5, and that's none other than Bobby Drake, aka Iceman. Now, Bobby, if you could ask me, he's actually my second favorite out of the original 5. If you ask me, hey, out of the original 5, who did you like in order? I'd put Bobby in second place for the original 5 X-Men, but yeah. Yeah, that second place goes to Bobby. I say this because Bobby is this very fun character. He was the young kid who was introduced to us as the young rebel, and I've always thought I always think it's funny because he has near omnipotent ice powers, and he still tries to be a kid at heart. But you know, Bobby's grown up to from being a kid to being one of the most powerful mutants ever. You know, I've always liked, you know, now that I talk about it, I've always thought the ice-powered superheroes were always cool. I always dug the ability to freeze stuff. If I could ever have a superpower, that's the first one on my list. Ice powers. I'd love to have ice powers. So that's one reason why I like Iceman. The other one is like he's so free-spirited, but he knows how to you know, get business done now. You know, like I said, he's gone from a teenager to being one of the X-Men, one of the X-Men's most esteemed members, in my opinion. And you know, that's another reason why I like him, because you like all these like all the other X-Men, he's evolved into that character, and he's gone from being the kid to being the adult over the years, and a very powerful adult, might I add. I mean, this dude is like, with his ice powers, he's almost godlike at some points. Like, I wouldn't say godlike, but maybe he's gone from being a joke to being a class 4 mutant with you know, with the things he can do with those ice powers of his. And yeah, I mean, I could go on and on more about, but hey, we still got 9 more mutants to talk about. So yeah, Bobby Drake, everybody. But yeah, moving on to number 9. Now, number 9 is another character from the Summers family, but he's not a brother, nor is he the father. And he's also he was formerly known as the Mutant Messiah, and he's probably probably one of the most badass X-Men around, and that's other than Nathaniel Summers, Cable. I can't believe I got tongue-tied there. I'm so sorry, guys. My mind's just been... I had another brain fart, my bad. But anyway, Cable. Cable I was first introduced to, not through the cartoon show, because I kind of missed the episodes. I was first introduced to Cable when a woman who was friends with my mom was having a garage sale at our house, and her son was trying to sell his comics, but none of them sold. So she gave me the comics. And one of them was Cable #1. I still have that. And that's how I was introduced to Cable. I found out he's kind of like the John Carter... I've always considered Cable the John Carter of mutants. Why? Because he's from a distorted future ruled by Apocalypse, and you know, he's like this great leader, and he's a total badass about it. So yeah, Nathan is awesome. I've always dug Cable. I liked Cable as well in the Cable and Deadpool series. That's probably my favorite Deadpool stuff, the Cable and Deadpool. But yeah, Cable has always been cool. I always loved his tough guy demeanor, and I was like, oh no way, when he was killed, when I heard that he died in Second Coming to protect Hope. But he's coming back thanks to Jeff Loeb. Great. I'm not reading that. As much as I like Cable, I'm still not gonna read Cable Reborn. No way. But you know, other than that, Cable was always cool. That, you know, that silent badass that you just didn't want to mess with. And the other thing I always thought was cool about him, I know this is so minute, but I loved how his right eye would flash, you know, just to show his power is coming out. I always thought that was cool about him, just that flash right there, that flash in his right eye, knowing You know, that's the point where the bad guy should shut the hell up. That's how I've always looked at it. It's like, when Cable's eye glows, time to shut the hell up. And he's a very powerful psychic. You know, it's not just his... You know, he does have telekinetic and psychic abilities, but I've always thought him more using guns. I mean, I've seen him use guns like these insane-sized guns that you'd probably see in, like, I don't know, Halo or Mass Effect, or guns that you wouldn't even think existed because Rob Liefeld drew them. And I always thought that was just so insane and just so awesome at the same time. Watching Cable take out this huge, almost like something out of a Looney Tunes or, you know, an anime, and just start blasting away on Sentinels or Apocalypse minions. So yeah, Cable, total badass. But, yeah. And, moving on to number 8. Now, number 8, the final part of this part of the countdown, is another mutant that's, you know, synonymous with the X-Men. When you think X-Men, you think of her. And, you know, she's been through a lot of character changes as well. But you know her better as Aurora Monroe. That's Storm, people. That's right, Storm. Do you really think I wouldn't put Storm on a top 20 X-Men list? Hell no. Storm's awesome. Like I said about Jean Grey, she can go from being the woman you don't want to mess with, to the loving, motherly type character. Now, she's gone through a lot of changes. She's gone from being worshipped as a goddess to an X-Man to the leader of the X-Men for a while when she didn't have her powers, to being the bride of Black Panther and being the queen of Wakanda. You know, to now. You know, she's always been like synonymous. When you think X-Men, she's one of the characters next to Wolverine and Cyclops. You think, oh yeah, there's Storm. I actually think Storm is more well known than Jean sometimes, because whenever I ask people who know X-Men, is like, hey, name off X-Men, it's always either Wolverine. It always comes out with these three first for the most part: Wolverine, Cyclops, and Storm. You hardly ever hear Jean Grey. So she's like I always considered, like, Storm has always gotten that limelight of being the woman you always think of. Women of X-Men, you think Storm first. Well, at least with people I've met, and probably a lot of X-Men fans too, more so than Jean Grey. I'm not knocking Jean Grey, but Storm has a bit more popularity. Storm, I've always liked this character. I mean, this is a woman who can control the elements, you know? This is another woman who has powers that I'd want. Like, there's another power I'd want, weather control. And she can use it in the most insane ways. I've seen her, you know, create hurricanes made of ice, or, you know, tornadoes made of fire. All kinds of crazy shit. And she is like she's been called the embodiment of Mother Nature. So, yeah. And I'd put her out there on the top 10 women you don't want to mess with in the Marvel Universe. But yeah, like I said, she's been like I said before with Jean Grey, she can be the badass, and she can be the den mother of the group. And I don't know what's up with Greg Pak and Astonishing X-Men, but that cover of her and Cyclops making out is like, what the hell? I thought she was still married to T'Challa, but then I remembered that he's no longer married to her in Black Panther: Man Without Fear, and I don't know what the hell's going on. But all in all, hope you guys have been enjoying the countdown so far. Coming up next is number 7, the top 7. So stay tuned to find out who number 1 is. Later.